Good morning. We are back today with day 31 of our devotion Upon Waking by Jackie Hill Perry. I hope you all slept well last night. Let's hop into day 31. The scripture readings is Mark chapter 8, verses 23 through 25. It says, "Do you see anything?" And he looked up and said, "I see people, but they look like trees walking." Then Jesus laid his hands on his eyes again, and he opened his eyes. His sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. Right before this, the disciples were confronted by Jesus about their lack of perception. They'd forgotten to bring bread on their trip to this place and discussed the oversight among themselves instead of resting in the one who was on the boat with them. Jesus recognized their behavior as springing up from the influence of unbelief, called leaven. Testifying about himself, he reminded them of how many people he'd fed with very little, and then asked, "Having eyes, do you not see?" Ironically, once the boat docks, a blind man is brought to Jesus, leaving the boat with those who see but don't see. He encounters one for whom the issue of sight isn't a metaphor. In what feels a bit odd to our cultural senses, Jesus puts spit on the man's eyes and lays his hands on him too. Then, after asking the man if he could see, the man tells Jesus that he can see people, but they look like trees. Then the text says, "Then Jesus laid his hands on his eyes again, and he opened his eyes. His sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly." The redundancy of the laying on of hands is not due to some insufficiency in Jesus. Let's not forget that through him all things were made, and without him nothing was made that was made, in John 1:1-3. The double healing isn't supposed to tempt us or trouble our hearts that maybe, just maybe, Jesus doesn't do all things well. This is a parable in action. The blind man represents the disciples who had eyes but could not see. They'd seen the miracles, heard the sermons, watched the divinity, but even still, people looked like trees and Jesus looked unclear. Their lack of understanding could only be overcome by grace, by Jesus' willingness and patience to heal and heal again until they could finally see. Life has a blinding effect on the children of Adam. That's you and me. Or maybe a better way to say it is pride does. As it informs us, we can observe what's on the surface and completely miss what is beneath. It's the whole set your mind on things that are above principle found in Colossians 3:2. There is always more to see, so as long as you're dependent less on your own eyes and more on your so long as you're dependent less on your own eyes, intellect, and wisdom, and more on God's grace. If he doesn't finish the work, humble our hearts, reveal his glory again and again and again, we will be completely satisfied with seeing trees instead of people, the world instead of heaven, money instead of Jehovah Jireh, our neighbors' offenses instead of the cross that handled them. The scriptures hold out to us the same question Jesus posed to the almost blind man. Do you see anything? Answering the question Scripture asks of us will reveal how full or dim our sight might be, so that by our confession, God can deepen our spiritual depth and increase our understanding of His Son. We need Jesus to lay His hands on us again and again until that day when we finally shall see Him as He is. That's such a good devotion today. I really, really enjoyed that one. And I think about that, how we can see all these things. We say it over and over again. We can see all these things that Jesus does time and time again. We've seen him heal. We've seen him deliver. We've seen him set free. We've seen him make ways. But have we truly seen him, right? The disciples had just seen him feed all these people with 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. And now they're on the boat tripping because they don't have anything to eat, right? Or they don't have enough. And Jesus is like, hey, did you forget? Did you forget who I am? And so this is just a reminder of who he is, for us to be reminded of looking to see who he truly is. We don't have to get blindsided by circumstances and situations that we see going on in front of us, or that we may be facing, or that may be going on in our families or around the world. We've seen him time and time again. We've seen him heal. We've seen him bring people out. We've seen him fix the things that seem like cannot be fixed, right? We've seen him do the impossible. But have we truly seen him? Because a lot of times how we respond in those times of crisis, in those times of chaos, that lets us know whether or not we've truly seen him. And when we say seen him, we're talking about with our hearts. If we have a true understanding of the God that we profess each and every day, or is it just something that we're doing, out of obligation, or because it's just the true Christian thing to do? Can I propose to you that the God of heaven really desires to have a real relationship with you, one where he can truly reveal himself to you over and over and over again in different capacities, right? He wants to reveal himself to you as healer. He wants to reveal himself to you as a deliverer. He wants to reveal himself to you as the lover of your soul, as your best friend, as your confidant, as that person. He wants that. But we have to be willing to walk into that space with him. Right? He's not gonna push us into that space. Sometimes it feels like he's dragging us, but he's really not. He's a gentleman and he wants that, but we have to be open to that. We have to allow him to be those things in our lives. He wants us to truly see him. Not just as something that we see him in time of need, but we see him in time of good also. We see him that, God, you're the same God that brought me out, but you're the same God who's sustaining me. You're the same God that's carrying me through everything that I have. When I was in my prayer time this morning, I was just crying out to God, everything that I have, it's because of you, Lord. Every good and perfect gift comes from above. God just shouldn't be an emergency plan fix, right? Somebody that we go to simply because we have an emergency. We have something that we need him to fix. We have an issue on the job. We have a need that we need him to meet. No, he desires to have that everyday thing. And that's when we begin to see him. We begin to see him when we go through the trial and just in building relationship with him. God, simply because I'm coming to you today, not to ask you for anything, but God, just to be in your presence, just because I want to be closer to you, just because I want to get to know you a little bit better, right? Just because I want to get to know you a little bit better. And so my prayer for you and I today is, Lord, help us to see you. Help us to, God, give us eyes to truly see you. Not like some genie in a bottle who just makes things happen and gives us what we want. But God, help us to truly see you. Give us eyes, Lord, to truly see who you are and who you desire to be in our lives. That you really are good and that you really are God. Even in the midst of chaos and calamity, you're still good and you're still God. And when we begin to see him, truly see him, we won't respond in the midst of calamity and chaos from a place of worry and anxiety and despair, because we have truly beheld the one who holds our tomorrow. We have truly beheld the one. We have beheld the one who holds our times in his hands, so we don't have to respond from a place of worry because we've seen him. Yeah, that's my admonishment to us today. Let's have God give us eyes that truly, truly see you. Thank you all for joining and for going on this journey with me through this book. I'll be back tomorrow. If you want to go back and catch any of the other devotionals, you can catch them on my YouTube channel. It's on my homepage there. You can go like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you'll be able to go back and watch all of these devotions that I've done so far. And I look forward to continuing this journey with you. Be blessed on today. Be blessed on today. I pray that the blessing of the Lord that maketh rich and adds no sorrow chases you down and overtakes you today. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.